our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Algeria has recalled that the Zionist entity commits the most odious crimes against the Palestinian people. The International Court of Justice began today its second session of hearings devoted to the examining of the complaint brought by South Africa against the Zionist entity for crimes against humanity in violation of the 1948 Genocide Convention in Gaza. The United Nations Security Council is expected to convene an open briefing this evening to discuss the situation in the Middle East, including the issue of Palestine. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Osmani. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, has held talks in Tehran, Iran, with the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. During the meeting held on the sidelines of the emergency meeting of the Palestine Committee of the Parliamentary Union of Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the two parties discussed the state of the special relations between the two countries and ways of continuing efforts to promote bilateral cooperation, notably at parliamentary level. Hailing the Islamic Republic of Iran for hosting this meeting on Palestine, Brahim Boughali recalled that the Zionist entity commits the most odious crimes against the Palestinian people. He also urged Muslim countries to confront this entity, maintaining that the Palestinian cause is not just a Muslim cause, but a humanitarian one, which calls for the unity of Arab countries. For his part, the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament underlined that Muslim countries were called upon to stand together in defense of Palestine and to mobilize all their resources in support of the oppressed Palestinian people. As you followed in our top stories, the International Court of Justice began today its second session of hearings devoted to examining the complaint brought by South Africa against Israel for crimes against humanity and violation of the 1948 Genocide Convention in Gaza. At the first session yesterday, the South African Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola, said in his speech that the Zionist entity has violated the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide of 1948 through its aggression against the Palestinian people in Gaza. He recalled that South Africa was taking this step on behalf of the State of Palestine in order to put an end to the genocide committed by Israel in Gaza, noting that what was happening in the Palestinian enclave was contrary to international conventions and that measures must be taken to stop the destruction of Palestine. The advisor to South Africa's legal team, Blenny Gralayer, said the international community had failed Palestinians despite dehumanizing, genocidal rhetoric by Israeli governmental officials, praising South Africa for initiating proceedings against Israel at the International Court of Justice. She told the court that this was the first genocide in history where its victims are broadcasting their own destruction in real time in the desperate, so far vain hope that the world might do something.
The international community has repeatedly failed. It failed the people of Rwanda, it had failed the Bosnian people and the Rohingya, prompting this court to take action. It failed again by ignoring the early warnings of the grave risk of genocide to the Palestinian people, sounded by international experts since 19th of October of last year. The international community continues to fail the Palestinian people, despite the overt, dehumanizing, genocidal rhetoric by Israeli governmental and military officials matched by the Israeli army's actions on the ground. Despite the horror of the genocide against the Palestinian people being live-streamed from Gaza to our mobile phones, computers and television screens, the first genocide in history where its victims are broadcasting their own destruction in real time in the desperate, so far vain hope that the world might do something.
South Africa brought its case accusing Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. As of now, the nation is requesting that the World Court implement provisional measures to halt Israel's military operations in Gaza. South African lawyer Thembeka Ngugaitobi told the judges at the International Court of Justice hearing what state would admit to a genocidal intent.
It is because of the policy of Israel that Gaza has become a place of death and despair. In conclusion, Madam President, many propagators of grave atrocities have protested that they were misunderstood, that they did not mean what they said, and that their own words were taken out of context. What state would admit to a genocidal intent? Yet, the distinctive feature of this case has not been the silence as such, but the reiteration and repetition of genocidal speech throughout every sphere of state in Israel. The intent to destroy is plainly understood by soldiers on the ground. It is also fully understood by some within the Israeli society, with the government facing criticism for allowing in any aid to Gaza on the basis that it is recanting on its promise to starve Palestinians.
For her part, Adila Hassim, South Africa's lawyer at the International Court of Justice in the genocide case against Israel, presented the arguments.
The first genocidal act committed by Israel is the mass killing of Palestinians in Gaza, in violation of Article 2A of the Genocide Convention. As the UN Secretary-General explained 5 weeks ago, the level of Israel's killing is so extensive that nowhere is safe in Gaza. As I stand before you today, 23,210 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces during the sustained attacks over the last 3 months, at least 70% of whom are believed to be women and children. Some 7,000 Palestinians are still missing, presumed dead under the rubble. Palestinians in Gaza are subjected to relentless bombing wherever they go. The level of killing is so extensive that those whose bodies are found are buried in mass graves, often unidentified. In the first 3 weeks alone, following 7 October, Israel deployed 6,000 bombs per week. Israel has killed an unparalleled and unprecedented number of civilians, with the full knowledge of how many civilian lives each bomb will take.
As a reminder, Pretoria's 84-page complaint includes a request for urgent measures likely to put an end to the Zionist aggression on Palestinian territory, where more than 23,000 Palestinians have been killed and 58,000 others wounded. Pretoria is also asking the International Court of Justice to order the Zionist occupation to stop killing and causing serious mental and physical harm to the Palestinian people in Gaza, to cease deliberately imposing on them living conditions designed to bring about their physical destruction as a group, and to allow access to humanitarian aid. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has welcomed the complaint brought by South Africa before the International Court of Justice against Israel for genocide in Gaza. In a press release relayed by the Palestinian news agency WAFA, the organization also welcomed the holding on Thursday morning of the first session of the examination of this complaint at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. It hoped that the court will take the urgent measures necessary to put an end to the crime of genocide committed by Israel in Gaza since the 7th of October of last year. More than 1,000 grassroots movements, political parties, trade unions and organizations around the world have called on countries to support South Africa's complaint to the International Court of Justice against Israel for crimes and violations of the 1948 Genocide Convention in Gaza. They said in a statement, quote, "We now urge other countries to reinforce this strongly worded and argued complaint by immediately filing a statement of intervention with the International Court of Justice." Said Bouazi has the details.
The 1,000 movements, political parties, trade unions and organizations said in their statement that the Zionist occupying forces have bombed hospitals, homes, UN refugee centers, schools, places of worship and evacuation routes, killing and injuring tens of thousands of Palestinians since 7th October 2023. More than half of the dead are women and children. Citing open statements by Zionist officials expressing their intention to permanently displace Palestinians from their own land, the organization supported South Africa's assertion that these actions fall within the scope of the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Underlining the urgency of the situation, the statement maintained that parties to the Genocide Convention have an obligation to prevent genocide. The communiqué concludes by underlining that the Zionist actions, including killing, injuring, traumatizing, and displacing Palestinians while denying essential resources to an occupied population, meet the criteria for the crime of genocide. The International Court of Justice in The Hague held its inaugural session on Thursday on a genocide complaint brought by South Africa against the Zionist entity.
The United Nations Security Council is expected to convene an open briefing this evening to discuss the situation in the Middle East, including the issue of Palestine. Algeria, the sole Arab member of the UN Security Council, has requested the meeting to discuss the threat of forced displacement facing the Palestinian people in Gaza as a result of the brutal Zionist genocide campaign in the besieged enclave. Expected to provide briefings to Council members are Martin Griffiths, the Deputy Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, and Branks Keris, the Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights. The Euro-Mediterranean Observatory for Human Rights has reported that those who survived Israel's air, land and sea raids on the Gaza Strip are at imminent risk of death in a context of the spread of epidemics, which constitutes a genocide. In a statement published on its website, Euromed Monitor strongly denounced the ban imposed by Israel on medical supplies to hospitals and pharmacies in the Gaza Strip, calling it a death sentence for thousands of wounded and sick people and another form of genocide aimed at causing serious physical and psychological harm to the people of Gaza, which will ultimately lead to their death. In the early hours of today, a number of civilians were reported killed and others sustained injuries as the Zionist occupation forces continue their devastating war of genocide against the Gaza Strip for the 98th consecutive day. In a preliminary toll, the ongoing Israeli genocide or aggression on the Gaza Strip since the 7th of October has led to the murder of 23,469 people, predominantly women and children, and approximately 60,000 people wounded. Nearly 8,000 people are unaccounted for. Said Bouazi tells us more in this report.
In central Gaza, occupation warplanes targeted the residential building in the Al-Mash'ala neighborhood in Deir el-Balah. Simultaneously, Zionist artillery shelled the town of Az-Zuwayda and the neighboring Nusayrat and El Bureij refugee camps, resulting in casualties. In Khan Yunis, south of the Strip, over 30 bodies of martyrs arrived at hospitals in the city due to the ongoing airstrikes in various parts of the province. Further, the Occupation Air Force conducted intense raids in the central area of Khan Yunis, targeting ambulance and rescue crews as they worked to transport the wounded and retrieve the martyrs. Earlier last night, 9 civilians were killed and others injured in a Zionist airstrike that targeted the residents in the Shoka area east of Rafah in southern Gaza. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society reported that its teams transported 9 martyrs during the targeting of the Abu Senema family home in the neighborhood. Meanwhile, displaced families seeking shelter in UN schools in northern Gaza are facing dire conditions due to the ongoing Zionist blockade on the region, preventing fuel deliveries to municipalities and causing a halt to essential services.
Now back to Algeria. The Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Koujil, has extended his best wishes to Algerians on the occasion of the advent of the Amazigh New Year 2974, expressing his pride in the identity and ancestral culture of the Algerian nation and its Amazigh cultural heritage, which combines cultural diversity and national unity. Now I invite you to listen to the second part of an interview conducted by Asya Bekar with her guest Mahfoud Karkar, radio journalist from the southern province of Ghardaia, in which they discuss the celebrations of the Amazigh New Year in this part of the country.
Our Talk. A weekly program with guests activated in different fields.
It's always good to hear about the history behind such events, especially important event as Yenair, because it is, as we said before, it reflects the identity, and now we are discovering together, and our listeners for sure they are discovering with us, that it has always to do with the land and agriculture, which makes it even more beautiful to celebrate.
Yes, I want to tell you about tomorrow. It means January the 7th. What happens in the 7th? It is the same family gathering. It is the same family meeting. They are going to prepare a kind of couscous. We call it khalida. What does it mean, khalida? It is a mixture. Khalida, it means it is mixed. It means it is mixed. It is a kind of couscous with plenty of crops, plenty of vegetables. One thing is just to avoid to be spicy, no chili, no pepper, no salt, no meat. So we have to prepare it simply as a meal, but we have to over the way with sweet things, dates, and what is really sweet in order to receive or to welcome a new year, a sweet new year. Because according to the myth or what they told us, our ancestors, if you make pepper or if you make chili in this couscous, it will be hot. The year will be really hot.
Yeah.
If you make some meat, it will be an expensive year. So for this, we avoid all kinds of things that change the taste of this couscous, and we prefer that this couscous will be really sweet couscous. And sometimes some families prepare this couscous of khalida, and others prepare a couscous with date sauce. It means we prepare this couscous, and then the sauce, we are going to boil the dates, and then we are going to extract the jam of these dates, and then we are going to mix them with this sauce, and then we are going to put it on the couscous, and then we eat it. It is really sweet couscous. This is it.
Yeah, a way to be optimistic for the new year.
Yes, that's it.
That's amazing. So, how were last year's celebrations in Ghardaia, given that last year's celebrations were held there, the official celebrations?
They were held in Ghardaia. There were many people, there were officials, there were people from all around Algeria. They were visiting Ghardaya and at the same time to have part or to take part in the celebration of Yinar. And there were plenty of ceremonies, exhibitions, chorus, theater. So it was really amazing to have the whole Algeria in Ghardaya. So it was a kind of joy to see people, especially children, to see those ladies, to see those small kids wearing traditional clothes from all around Algeria. To make an exhibition, to make a site of Algeria. This is what we have. We are proud of our culture. We are proud of what we have, of cultures, different cultures, but it reflects one culture, one identity, that is of Algeria.
Great. So do you prefer the celebrations of the Amazigh New Year to be indoors or outdoors?
Both of them. Mm-hmm. Both of them. For example, this year I think it is in Algiers.
Yes.
And last year it was in Ghardaya. It is good to have indoor, to have our share of the joy, to have our portion of sweet things, to have our portion of culture, and to have it outdoor, to share it with other part of Algeria in order to acknowledge about what we have in Algeria, to acknowledge about different cultures of Algeria. For example, this year in Algiers, next year perhaps in Tizi Ouzou or in Bijaya, the other year I don't know where. So it's a kind of acknowledgement, it is an indirect invitation for the Algerian people to see and to discover their Algeria and to discover the different ceremonies, especially where we have traditional clothing, when we have these women and men showing or exhibiting their handicrafts, what they have as a product to show to people. It's encouraging tourism, it is encouraging economy, local economy. Why not to encourage the local economy? Last year we encouraged the local economy of Ardaya. This year we are going to encourage the local economy of Algiers and so on.
And also to promote the local products of different cities.
Especially for the handicrafts.
Yeah, especially for the handicrafts.
For example, in Ardaya we have the carpet making. And the carpet in Ardaya with this famous symbolism in these carpets with plenty of colors, natural colors. I think it's a kind of promoting this carpet. Even though Ghardaya is really known for its tourism, it's known for its heritage, it's known for its cultural heritage. Mm-hmm. It is classified as human heritage in 1982 by the UNESCO. We have its Pentapolis, we have its Qsor, the old Qsor, this antique Qsor, with plenty of jewel making, with plenty of carpets making. So it's a kind of encouraging tourism, it's a kind of encouraging heritage saving, etc.
Mm-hmm. Your say on the Yenair markets?
Some areas in Algeria, they have...
Like, for example, we have the one of the Grand Post of Algiers this year.
Yes, they are going to make a special exhibition for Yenair.
Yeah, it is currently being held.
Yes. The same thing was held in Ghardaya last year. It is a big market. But the idea that I want to tell you is that these markets haven't to be occasionally made or organized. They have to be for the whole year, because it's a kind of encouraging and promoting economy. It's a kind of encouraging saving the heritage of each area in Algeria. For example, if we talk about leather making, it is in Tlemcen. Why not to make an everlasting exhibition or market of leather in Tlemcen? Why not? If we talk about like it is existing in Ghardaya, if we are talking about carpets making and plenty other handcrafts products, it is an everlasting market. It is always. It's not occasionally organized. It is forever. It is made this kind of market.
So, anything you want to add now, Mahfoud, that we come to the end of our interview?
I want to say something about the associations, how they take part in this Yinnayer on this Yinnar.
Yeah,
for example, in Ghardaya, now I told you that before, it was a kind, they kept it like it was just symbolically made. But now, sticking to technology, new era of technology, multimedia and mobile phones, etc., internet, etc., associations felt the duty of keeping, felt the duty of moving, felt the duty of acknowledging about what is really this heritage. Now, for 2 or 3 last years in Ghardaya, there is an explosion of associations, women or female associations, men associations. They meet and they mean to celebrate this Yinnar or this Yinnayer. We found, for example, the association of Timkres. It is in Benizgan. Timkres, it means ladies in Mozambique language. Amkurus, it is for the men, and Timkres for the ladies. It is an association. It is a cultural association. They also educate at the same time, but they took the duty of having the side of culture and keeping traditions, to keep customs and to keep the heritage. So they organize an exhibition where they invite men and women separately. They invite men and women. They show what they have, because they have some works where they encourage ladies to learn how to make carpets, how to make woolen stripe, how to make different handicrafts. We have other chorus associations. They make chorus, they sing, they make songs about Yinnayer. In these songs, they do sing for Yinnayer. They do sing with the identity. They do sing for the whole Algerian identity and unity. So we find this kind of association working together. And yesterday there were a meeting in Ghardaya. It's plenty of different chorus, different groups. They are all singing together, singing for Algeria, singing for Yinnayer. And there is also another exhibition where they welcome tourists, they welcome people from Algeria and outside Algeria to acknowledge about the heritage, to acknowledge about handicrafts, etc. This is it.
That's great to know. Mahfoud Karkar, radio journalist and correspondent, thank you so much for being with us on this special occasion.
You are welcome, and I want to say you, in Mozambique language we say Tasugas Dambarish, Asugas Denamar, and we say in Kabil that we say Asugas Hamagas, Asugas Hamarvoh, for everyone in Algeria, not only the Amazigh, for the whole Algerian people.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear listeners, for joining us, and happy Amazigh New Year.